The Finnish words koska, siksi, ja sillä can often be confusing since they can all kind of translate to because. So what is the difference between them? Let's find out. In a recent italki class that I had, this topic came up, and at the time I didn't really have a good answer, but I did some research and I am here now to explain exactly what the difference is between these three words. Let's start with koska because I have made 2 videos previously about the word koska, but in summary, koska can be used as a conjunction to mean because, the same way like in English. So to give a reason or justification about something, but it can also be used as a question word to ask when or milloin. Now, the Finnish word siksi, 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 siksi can also be translated to because. So how does that differ from the word koska? The word siksi on its own actually translates to therefore. But when you combine siksi with the word että, so siksi että, the meaning becomes because. So siksi että and koska both mean because and are synonyms. Siksi että and koska can then be used interchangeably. For example, en mene ulos, koska sataa. I'm not going outside because it's raining. Koska can also be swapped out for siksi että to become en mene ulos, siksi että sataa. I'm not going outside because it's raining. So those 2 sentences mean exactly the same thing. Exactly. However, if you don't use että and only use siksi in this sentence, what does it become? Ulkona sataa, siksi en mene ulos. So if you don't want to use siksi että, but you only want to use siksi, you'd have to change the word order a little bit to make sure that the meaning stays the same, just like in English. So you would say ulkona sataa, siksi en mene ulos. It's raining outside, therefore, or that's why, because of that, I'm not going out. So siksi on its own translates more to therefore, because of that. That's why you're giving a reason for something. Another example is syön porkkanaa, koska se on terveellistä. I eat carrots because, koska, it's healthy. You can swap out koska for siksi että, and the sentence structure and the meaning stays the same. Syön porkkanaa siksi, että se on terveellistä. Same sentence, same meaning. But if you want to use siksi on its own, you do have to shuffle the sentence a bit to make it work. So you would say instead, porkkana on terveellistä, siksi syön niitä. Porkkana on terveellistä, siksi syön niitä. Carrots are healthy, therefore, because of that, that's why. So because the carrots are healthy, that's why, siksi syön sitä. That's why I eat them. I'll leave a few more examples in the description box if you want to go over this a little bit more, but let's jump now to the next word. So now that we know what the difference is between koska and siksi, so koska means because, or it can also be used as a question to ask when, milloin, and siksi että means because, but siksi on its own means therefore, that's why, because of that. So the reasoning for something. But how does sillä differ to those that we just went over? So as a conjunction, the purpose of sillä, 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 so double L, sillä, sillä. So the purpose of sillä is to technically justify the main clause without being the reason for it. That is grammatically what all of the Finnish textbooks say. However, Finnish people will a lot of the time use it as a synonym with koska. Technically, the correct translation for sillä is since, or due to the fact that. And as a quick note here, I want to say something important, that sillä cannot start a sentence. Koska can both be in the middle of a sentence and start it, but sillä, no, it has to be in the middle of the sentence. You cannot put it at the start or the sentence is grammatically wrong. So that's just something to keep in mind. Since I said sillä and koska can be used as a synonym, there are some exceptions to that, and one of them is that, yes, sillä, don't start your sentence with it. All right, but let's first look at a grammatically correct sentence, what sillä is supposed to be used for. So what I mean by this is I took these sentences from the grammar website. So their example was, huomenna sataa, sillä niin sanottiin sääennusteessa. So what that translates to in English is, huomenna sataa, tomorrow it will rain, sillä niin sanottiin sääennusteessa, since that is what the forecast said. So the speaker is justifying the rain based on the forecast. On the other hand, if you swap out sillä to koska, the sentence changes into huomenna sataa, koska niin sanottiin sääennusteessa. So the translation to that sentence in English is, huomenna sataa, tomorrow it will rain, koska, because, niin sanottiin sääennusteessa. That's what the forecast said. So the rain is because of the forecast. Koska is used to explain a reason or a cause for the matter, so the rain. So that is officially the grammatically correct way to differentiate koska and sillä. Sillä is used to justify the main clause without being the reason for it. However, in spoken Finnish, sillä and koska are used very interchangeably, and these kinds of small nuances, like the example I just went over, you don't really need to know about them, I feel like, because if I were to hear both of these sentences in spoken Finnish, they would basically mean the same to me. So another tip I want to give you is if you are thinking, oh no, koska and sillä, I'm confused. When should I use one and when should I use the other one? If they're used interchangeably, which one should I then use to make myself sound more natural? In spoken Finnish, koska is used way more, since both of them can and are used very interchangeably in spoken Finnish. If you are wondering which one to go for koska. Because if you're creating a sentence, using koska will usually make you sound more relaxed and natural when speaking. Plus, the use of koska is slightly ever so more versatile. So if you are weighing the options which one to use, go for koska in spoken Finnish. In writing, sometimes you will see sillä more, but in spoken, definitely lean more towards koska. It's just the better choice in most cases. And what I mean by koska being slightly more versatile is that there are a few situations that koska can be used in that sillä cannot. So, for example, koska can be used multiple times in a sentence. So you can stack a sentence and use koska multiple times. Sillä, grammatically speaking, you cannot do that. So use sillä only one time in a sentence, koska you can sprinkle it in a few times. For example, pidän suklaakakusta, koska se on herkullinen, ja koska siinä on paljon suklaata. So in this sentence, I used koska twice, perfectly fine, but if you were to use sillä, you could only give one reason. That sentence translates to, pidän suklaakakusta, I like chocolate cake, koska, because, se on herkullinen, it's delicious. Ja, and, koska, because, siinä on paljon suklaata. there is a lot of chocolate in it. So you can stack koska in sentences to give multiple reasons or justifications. Also, koska can be used in certain negative sentences in kind of like a stacked way. I think this makes more sense with an example, so I'll just go straight to the example. So, if I were to say, en lähde, koska minulla on tylsää, vaan koska minulla on huono olo. So here we are using koska twice, but in a bit of a different way than the previous example. So this is a negative sentence and it translates to en lähde, I'm not leaving, koska minulla on tylsää, because I'm bored, vaan koska, but because minulla on huono olo, I'm not feeling good. So I'm not leaving because I'm bored, but because I don't feel good. So if you're leaving and you want to say, it's not because I'm bored that I'm leaving, but because I don't feel good, you can use koska in these types of sentences, but you cannot use sillä to do this. So as a last example, I will create 3 sentences that are basically the same so you can see this in practice. Number 1, menin kotiin, koska mua väsytti. I went home because I was tired. Menin kotiin, koska, because mua väsytti. Mua is puhekieli for minua, I. You can also flip the sentence to have koska at the beginning, because koska can be also used at the start of the sentence. Koska mua väsytti, menin kotiin. Because I was tired, I went home. Sillä can only be used in the middle of the sentence and only be used once. So if we want to use sillä in this sentence, we would say, menin kotiin, sillä mua väsytti. I went home since I was tired, because I was tired. Those are the main differences between siksi, koska, ja sillä. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments down below. I also put a few extra examples in the description box so you can read through those. And that's just about it. Nähdään ensi videossa. Moikka!